So what does the Citroen C6 have in common with the Pontiac Aztek? They're different, their stories are amazing, and they're cool. What's the category called? Experimental people movers. So strap in your seatbelts because you're watching the Ferrarinator. Pontiac Aztek. I know this car isn't made in 1999, but the concept was, and it was highly praised and well received. It featured extreme futuristic styling and promised maximum versatility in support of a young and active lifestyle for its intended Generation X buyer demographic, and promised maximum versatility in support of a young and active lifestyle. In my opinion, the concept looks bizarre in a bad way. Thank goodness that they've made the front slightly more tolerable. The summer of 2000, the nightmare came to production as a 2001 model. Fun fact, the CBS show Survivor gave a free Aztek to the winning contestant, and the contestant had to sleep in the Aztek. At least if you slept in the Aztek, you couldn't see the outside of it. So that is fun. Then it flopped so bad, many people say it was a downfall for both Pontiac and GM. Luckily, GM are back on track with the designer Tom Peters, and he said originally it was supposed to be a mix of the Camaro and SUV fused together to make a perfect ingredient. Then GM said, "Oh, let's give you a GMC minivan chassis," and it went downhill from there. I wish this car was cancelled, but before it was even made by Tom Peters. He should have thought about that, but he said this car was way ahead of its time, and he did create the Camaro and Corvette, so be grateful. Vauxhall/Opel Signum. The Opel Signum was a concept in 2001 called Signum 2. This was supposed to be a luxury hatchback presented by Opel. 2 years later, it was set free so everyone, including fleet car companies, can buy in bulk. What's the difference between the Vectra and Signum? One, the Vectra is a boring executive car, and the Signum's a luxury 5-door hatchback. The Signum is based on the Vectra estate, which is longer than the Vectra saloon by 13 cm, 5.1 inches. And there's a narrow in the central section, which includes folding armrests, which can be used as a third seat. I'm glad this car exists when it doesn't need to exist. It could have been the Vectra, which the Clarkson would have travelled as far as the stars not to drive. I wouldn't blame him. The Vectra didn't sell much because it was a niche, and it is still today. But I think it would have been more popular these days because you've got manufacturers like BMW, Mercedes, and Infiniti in the market. So it could have done slightly. Renault Aventime. The Renault Aventime was the first to be seen at the Louvre for a press launch in February 1999. And a year later at the Geneva Motor Show. Apparently, it was referred as a coupe space, and it was put into production 2 years later after the subsequent engineering of the pillarless roof to meet safety standards. The Renault Aventime was designed in-house by Renault affiliate Matra, which was convinced by Philippe Judon, the head of automotive division at Matra, who believed the children of the Espace owners remained loyal to the car even after they'd grown up and left home. Styled by Patrick Lequement, who designed the Renault Twingo Mark I, Ford Sierra, Patrick Lequement said the design was supposed to combine the space of the estate and the four-place pillarless qualities of a coupe. The Aventine flopped, selling 8,557 units, but to make matters worse, the Renault Velsatis was selling at the same time. Around the time that Matra decided to pull out of the automotive production business in 2003, partly as a result of the financial loss incurred by the poor sales of the Aventime. In my opinion, the Aventime didn't sell well because it was way ahead of it. Renault Velsatis. The Renault Velsatis is an executive car that Renault launched in 2001 at the Geneva Motor Show to replace the already discounted Renault Safrane. 4 years earlier, the Velsatis was a concept which looked sicker than the production model. The Renault Velsatis name stems from composites of velocity and satisfaction. Also, somehow, the Renault Velsatis chassis is based on the Renault Laguna. The Velsatis is distinguished by its unusual height, 13 centimeters higher than the Safrane, which benefits interior space but results in proportions some viewed as being ungainly. The Renault Velsatis is still considered to be one of the most expensive cars built by Renault, although it remained a minor success. Sadly, the Aventime was selling at the same time as the Velsatis, and both of the cars flopped. At least the Velsatis was better than SsangYong Rodius. I bet you're saying, that's disgusting. Get this off my screen. No, I won't. Ken Greenlee, the former head of the automotive design course at Royal College of Art in London, was a designer of the SsangYong Rodius, and he said it was supposed to look like a luxurious yacht. Two problems. The front grille looks ugly, and the lights are in terrible proportion. Now that rant's done I've got. But other than that, Top Gear, I guess they've made the SsangYong Rodius into a yacht, what it was originally supposed to be. Other than that, there's not many major facts other than it's ugly. And if the SsangYong Rodius didn't get panned for being so ugly and having terrible build quality, we wouldn't know about it. It'll just be an unknown car manufacturer, only obscure, but they're not unknown. Citroen C6. This executive car is made by Citroen from 2005 till 2012. Inspired by the Citroen C6 lineage concept with its fastback saloon-like styling, the Citroen C6 lineage prototype was debuted in Geneva Motor Show. The feature I really liked was the suicide doors, which was designed for easy access, then they got rid of it. The C6 was supposed to be released in late 2000 to replace the Citroen XM. 5 years later, the first C6 rolled off the production line in 2005 in November. In the executive market, the competition at the time was BMW with the 5 Series, which was more different to the previous generation. The Audi A6, which looks like the other previous predecessors, and the C6 was different to its rivals and predecessors. Frustratingly, the C6 sold 23,400 units compared to BMW's 1.4 million units sold, and Audi, which I can't find any information, but approximately 1 million to 1.6. Why didn't it sell well? One, there's always been a contestant with people saying, don't buy French cars, they're gonna fail. So the public steered away, and some people were willing to take the risk, and they bought it. Also, to make matters worse, the car styling was a bit terrible for some people, but I love it. Now I have to review 6 of these cars in terms of story, facts, looks, and overall score. Pontiac Aztek. Story 8 out of 10. A muscle car that was supposed to be infused with muscle car and SUV, but then a committee ruined it with a minivan plus an SUV. They tried to make the most of it, but it ended up looking a bit ugly, and then it ended up killing Pontiac as a result. Facts 8 out of 10. Kind of the same story. Looks 2 out of 10. I guess it's ahead of its time, and a score of 18. Opel / Vauxhall Signium story 5 out of 10. Because this is your average concept to production car, why is this made? Facts 6 out of 10. Some juicy numbers on the size difference between this and the Vectra. Looks 6 out of 10. Looks like a Vectra, except the rear looking better, and the score of 17. Renault Aventime story 9 out of 10. Simply, the story had a great story with an optimistic start and a tragic ending, meaning mantra will never work in the car industry. Facts 7 out of 10. It was supposed to be a cool coupe version of the Renault Espace, but it flopped. 8 out of 10. It's a breath of fresh air with an overall score 24. Renault Velsatis story 8 out of 10. It's the exact same story as the Aventime, but bigger. Facts 9 out of 10. The name's slick, and the president of France owned one from 2002 till 2009. Looks 5 out of 10. A bit earlier on in the video, I said that some people hate this car due to the proportions looking imperfect, but that's its perfections, with an overall score of 22. SsangYong Rodius story 5 out of 10. It mainly exists with the media slamming this car into the ground. Facts 6 out of 10. Other than this car being ugly, I guess Top Gear made it into a yacht. Looks 3 out of 10. The front looks so ugly. It makes me frustrated. Other than about that, the overall score is 14. And the Citroen C6's story, a 10 out of 10. It started in 1999 in a concept form, and then a year later it was released for Geneva Motor Show to replace the Citroen XM. It was supposed to be released in December 2004, but it ended up releasing in May 2005. Facts 8 out of 10. It was supposed to have suicide doors for the rear. Looks 8 out of 10. It was inspired by the fastbacks of the 60s. At the rear, the size is perfect with a score of 26. Conclusion. With the experimental people movers 1999 till 2005, with the Citroen C6, the story was amazing, and the Pontiac Aztek was supposed to be an American muscle car that could go off-road. being inspired by a yellow North Face coat, later ruined by the wrong chassis, and everything wrong. What about the other cars tied into this list? The Vauxhall Signum was supposed to be a luxury hatchback version of the Vectra, which the Renault Velsatis did a better version of than the Signum, with more passion being built into it. The Renault Aventime was supposed to be a coupe version of the Espace, which was supposed to get drivers more loyal to the brand earlier. The SsangYong Rodius seemed like a people carrier that can fit up to 11 people, and that's what it was really good at. This car was hated due to its ugly front, I wouldn't blame them, and the abysmal build quality. The Citroen C6 was the most unconventional in its segment, in my opinion. The C6 should have came out in 2000, which it would have become an icon. Why did these cars come out? My main theory is because it was towards the millennium. Car manufacturers thought, let's make something fresh and out of the world, and they thought, yeah, let's add suicide doors to the Citroen C6. We'll never add it, but we'll keep it anyway, just to keep people happy. But it didn't have it, but it was still as cool as a concept. And the Renault Velsatis, I think that was amazing, its concept. It was ahead of its time with all of these cars except the Pontiac, not Pontiac, it's the SsangYong Rodius. That's the only car that is kind of meh, but it's on there for my own reasons. And what would you call this category? That's my challenge. Cause you've watched this video all the way through, and I've called it experimental people movers. And can you simplify this, please? And also, please post your cars in the description below, which you would put in this category and the years, and why. Also, I nearly forgot to ask, can you please like and subscribe? I really don't need it. Okay, just kidding. And bye from Ferrarinator. Please visit my pages, and on that bombshell,